The American dream is defined as the ideal that every U.S. citizen should have an equal opportunity to achieve success and prosperity through hard work, dedication, and initiative. But the reality is, we're experiencing one of the worst times for upward mobility in our country's history. In this generation, if you were born poor, you're more likely to stay poor for your entire lifetime. So we've become less the land of opportunity and more the lottery of birth. So here's a map demonstrating upward mobility in the United States based on varying levels of poverty, access to opportunity, and again, the likelihood that you will remain poor if you were born poor. The areas in red denote the highest cases of poverty and the lowest chances of upward mobility. And there's no coincidence that there's a correlation between that map showing upward mobility and where concentration of African Americans live in the green areas and Native American populations in the orange. So the Drake song, Now We started from the bottom, now we here, should more be started from the bottom and we're still here. So when it comes to the lottery of birth, I didn't win the jackpot. I'm black, I'm female, I'm gay, I'm 4'11", I literally pulled the short straw. But more relevant is that I was born poor. I was actually born in a community hospital in poverty in Southeast Washington, D.C. My mom was actually pregnant for a moment, was actually homeless for a moment while pregnant with me, and later battled a drug and alcohol addiction. And to this day, I've never met my father. But as fate would have it, she moved in with her sister, who is currently enrolled in the computer science department at University of Maryland College Park. So my first image of a computer scientist was someone who looked like me. So thanks to that auntie and a nonprofit, I started coding when I was 13, which led to AP Computer Science in high school, and I was fortunate to get an engineering degree from Stanford. I took 3 programming courses at Stanford, had a technical internship related to software every summer I was in college, which led me to a 5.5-year career at Microsoft, and most recently, graduating from MIT Sloan. About 6 months after graduating from MIT, I interviewed for an analytical lead position at a very large tech company headquartered here in Silicon Valley. Met with about 8 different people, thought it went really well, but the recruiter came back to me and said, sorry, we don't think you're quite technical enough, but we're gonna hang on to your resume in case a more sales or marketing position opens up. Turns out that company and many other Silicon Valley companies published their diversity data showing that they were 30% female and less than 5% underrepresented minorities, claiming that it was in part a pipeline problem. We just can't find enough qualified women and minorities. Well, that's somewhat hard to believe because for the first time in history, women are twice as likely as men to earn a college degree, and Black and Latino students represent about 13% of undergraduate engineering degrees. So this was sort of my aha moment, and I took my non-technical self and I built an app called Blendoor, which is a blind recruiting app that hides candidate name, photo, and age to mitigate unconscious bias in hiring. And I was recently published on the cover of MIT Tech Review as one of 35 innovators under 35. Yay! Thank you. But don't celebrate too soon, because now I'm fundraising. Yeah. About 8% of venture capital deals go to companies with a female founder. And there are actually only about 15 Black women in the world that have raised $1 million or more in venture capital. One of them is actually here in this audience. To top that off, a white male-founded company that fails raises on average $1.2 million versus a Black female-founded company raises only about $36,000 in outside capital. So once again, my birth lottery ticket is the gift that keeps on misgiving. But I've transcended this, and let me tell you how. First, continuous retooling. I learned very early that my college degree was not going to be sufficient in giving me the skills necessary to remain competitive in the workplace. Furthermore, the emerging gig economy means that you constantly have to have transferable skills and may even be a freelance at some point in your career. Next, relentless perseverance. Fail, fail, fail. The common thread amongst the most successful people is perseverance through failure. So you have to grit it till you get it. And lastly, confidence. Confidence is paramount. a study published in the Psychological Science found that children who adopted this entity theory, where the belief that, for example, girls perform better than boys in math, just that knowledge alone resulted in lower performance in testing. And also, lack of energy and constructive effort to change that. Once you are into your career, there's this little known thing as imposter syndrome, where high-achieving individuals have an inability to internalize their success and thus constantly have this fear of being exposed as a fraud. So confidence is extremely important. So those are the three tools for me: retooling, perseverance, and confidence. But there's also responsibility for people in power and influence in organizations. And I have a couple tips for them as well. Check your bias. Implicit and unconscious bias is real. It's been proven in many different organizations. But ultimately, what's made our country great is that throughout history, we take advantage of the unique talents of many different kinds of people, even if that wasn't the original intent. We evolve. So you see it here on your left. This is the University of North Carolina Chapel Hill basketball team in 1910. This is the University of North Carolina Chapel Hill basketball team today. Imagine if a coach told Michael Jordan, sorry, we don't think you're quite basketball enough, but we'll call you in case a water boy position opens up. What would basketball be? Same with the medical profession. Here is a med school graduation about a century ago, and this is what a med school graduation looks like today. You never know who can achieve what. True meritocracies are where everyone is given an opportunity to succeed. There could be a young girl studying biology right now who could save your life. So the second tip is support true meritocracy. As much as we love the founders of America's greatest tech companies, homogeneous environments are not a true meritocracy. And there's an irony that the foundation of technology industry is rooted in innovation and disruption, but tech industry looks just like the med schools and the basketball teams in the early 1900s. So my theory, in order to support true meritocracy, we have to eliminate this lottery of birth. If you can't control your race, your gender, your sexual orientation, or the family income you were born in, it should not limit how you can change the world. And we've seen this already with little baby Barack, who's changed the tapestry of the White House. As a matter of fact, last year, I was invited to the White House for the first ever White House demo day. And this is just blocks from where my mother used to purchase drugs. And I'm sitting in the audience, and the president says,
Steve Jobs might be named Stephanie.
Steve Jobs might be named Stephanie.
So the solution to improving the lottery of birth is evolve. Thank you.